Hey, what's up, y'all? So today's topic is understanding the snap meta triangle. So if you're like me, you like a lot of different card games, and a lot of different card games have a meta triangle. So here's two different meta triangles made by Tempo Storm. So we've got Magic the Gathering on the left and Hearthstone on the right. And what a meta triangle is, if you're not familiar with these games, is essentially you have different deck archetypes, and they're in this sort of rock, paper, scissors fashion where one is stronger against another. And in Snap, that's not really the case because with MTG and Hearthstone, you have a health pool. So Marvel Snap has cubes instead of health. So there's retreating. You're not really just beating someone down until they're out of HP. You're fighting for cubes. There's gambling. It's poker. Wizard poker, as the title would say. You also have priority instead of tempo. So anyone who's played Magic or Hearthstone knows that tempo is a very important part of the game, maintaining tempo, answering, overextending. And Snap is different because you have priority instead of tempo. Your dudes aren't fighting each other. You just have setting up your synergies and interacting with your opponent's synergies. So what does that mean for the archetypes? So we still have control. So what sort of defines control? One of the oldest decks in the game is Sarah Control, where you are answering threats with, Killmonger, Scarlet Witch, Cosmo, Shang. So control decks lack power and they like to throw priority, but they make up for that with their interaction. And usually these types of decks will snap later when the opponent is vulnerable. So, if they were dropping their Dino back in the day, and you have Shang in hand, like that's when you're going to win. So you're usually aiming for that turn 6 win, controlling the board with your answers and interaction. And so instead of aggro, in my mind, the aggro equivalent would be disruption or disruption tempo decks. So the way I like to play these in Conquest is you really want to snap early when you've hit something important. And these sort of decks, they can't go as high or put out as much power as greedy decks. They just lack many payoffs. So I think the most classic disruption deck would be the old school, old Zabu and old Darkhawk. So you really didn't have that many options for payoffs. It was usually like Doctor Doom and Darkhawk, or maybe Darkhawk with Sentry and Eyeless. And the rest of your deck was usually disruption, like Korg and Rock Slide and whatnot. And so these are vulnerable to tech cards due to fewer payoffs. So if you really only have like Darkhawk and Sentry, one Shang eliminates like half of your payoffs. Our deck would have Darkhawk. The current mill decks usually have Red Hulk, and maybe an on reveal deck has like Doom and Odin. So finally, we have combo decks. So they're the greediest decks in the game, and they're mostly synergy pieces with very little interaction. So we have the different Hella Tribunal decks or Hella Lockjaw decks. We have Deadpool Destroy decks. They usually are just mainly destroying things. Sometimes they have Shang, sometimes they don't, and they have very little interaction. Same goes with Mr. Negative. It's usually you have your combo, and that's about it. So where does that leave us with our meta? So in my mind, we have this sort of meta with disruption, disrupting combo decks putting out too much power for control to deal with, and control having just enough tools to eliminate the payoffs of disruption decks. So a Yondu, for example, is really great at eliminating Black Knight. So a mill disruption deck can deal with a Black Knight combo deck versus a Black Knight combo deck getting that infinite power Ebony Blade that can't be destroyed by Shang-Chi. But then a Shang-Chi can get rid of the Red Hulk being like the only huge payoff that mill decks are really running, and why mill decks aren't really that strong in my mind. So again, another example, a Korg could really mess with Hella decks, whether it's Lockjaw or just Modok. But then a Hella deck is really just putting out too much power that can be Shanged, but then Shang can deal with Darkhawk. So what makes a deck good in Conquest? The decks that are most successful are the ones that run multiple packages. So either that can be different archetypes, so maybe you're running disruption and control together, or it could be the same archetype to increase your different playlines and flexibility. So examples of that are Sentry and Annihilus as a combo. It's for 9 energy, you're putting out, a 10 power Sentry, 6 power Annihilus, and a negative 10 power Void. So it's a huge 2 power combo or 2 card combo. And then you're also running disruption in like either Pixie Mobius, Iceman, Spider Ham. And then Same archetype to increase playlines and flexibility. One of the strongest sleeper decks in my mind for a long time now in Conquest has been the Phoenix Force decks. That's because they're just really, really hard to predict. Predictability plays a huge factor in Conquest, like the ability to read your opponent. So Phoenix Force, they have, like, depending on what deck you're running, you can include Living Tribunal Iron Man package. You can go with Taskmaster. You can go with Zola. And you're moving your stuff everywhere. It's just a really, really hard deck to deal with. So those are the different meta and the meta triangle for Snap. I'm really just using this video as like a short introduction and a framework so I could talk about other topics in the future and reference this meta triangle. So thanks for watching. Here's some of my future video topics I plan on making videos about now that I got the framework. So how to brew your own Conquest decks, how to prepare your deck against its relative counter, its meta counter, why homebrews are actually stronger in Conquest than net decking, just my meta predictions and balance, how your archetype should affect your snapping, something I touched on a little bit, and then how to combine different deck packages together to make a successful deck. Yep, that's it. Thanks for watching.